Hey y'all, it's Ashley at Bookishrealm. Welcome back to my channel. If you have already been here, welcome. If you've never been here, so today's video is a little bit on the interesting side because I'm talking about the fact that I have not bought a book in over 5 months and what it's been like and how I've been going about reading books if I haven't bought books, and am I getting FOMO? And so it's been a very interesting experience. But before we get started, I don't know if y'all noticed, but I got myself a new necklace. And I think it's real cute. So we're gonna talk a little bit about my new necklace. Thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. Ana Luisa jewelry elevates your everyday. They offer long-lasting, tarnish-resistant jewelry essentials you can feel good about wearing. 100% of their pieces are strength and humidity tested. Their designs are affordable, starting at just $39. They offer free and fast US shipping and returns and affordable worldwide shipping, which is, y'all, affordable worldwide. I know, like, listen, definitely, that's a plus there. All their products are backed by a 2-year warranty, so they extensively test products against tarnishing, allergies, damage, and breakage, which for me is super important, especially with the allergy part, because I have horrible allergies and eczema, and so I really appreciate that they do that. But if you're not totally satisfied, they'll send you a replacement or reimburse with no questions asked, which, child, because, you know, listen, no questions asked is like bonus for me, absolutely. Ana Luisa jewelry is crafted with the planet in mind. The brand is carbon neutral and climate neutral certified, offsetting 100% of the carbon footprint, which in this world and the way that climate change is happening, the way that it is hot here in the South, that's also a plus for me. So if you did not know, Ana Luisa is also having a amazing Mother's Day sale, y'all. An amazing Mother's Day sale because, listen, it's Mommy's Day. If y'all did not know, I am a mommy to a beautiful little human. If you haven't thought about your Mother's Day gift just yet, they are having this sale. This is perfect for your mom, or if you have somebody in your life that has been like a mom or just really inspires you and you want to celebrate them during Mother's Day, this is a great opportunity to take advantage of that sale. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the pieces that I did end up choosing, and I want to show you all of them close up. So I'm going to actually take this one off. And I did end up getting 4 necklaces. I love Ana Luisa's necklaces. They're my thing. And so I always go with the necklaces when I can. And I got some really pretty ones this time that all mean a lot to me. Just because y'all know I don't really do a lot of things without meaning or purpose. So this first one is absolutely gorgeous if you can see it. I'm trying to get my camera to focus. There we go. So it has these flowers on it and leaf and a little bit of stars. You probably can't see the stars that well, but I got this one because it definitely made me think a lot about my great-grandmother and my grandmother who have now passed. And they both had green thumbs. They loved spending so much time in their gardens and just having so many houseplants. And I wish that that was passed on to me. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but I lost both of them right before my daughter was born. And so it just means a lot to have something to symbolize their love for nature. The next one that I got is probably one that I'm just interpreting the way that I want to interpret it. If you can't really tell, it is actually, there we go, focusing better. It is a hand holding up light. And so for me, I looked at this one, I was like, oh, it's kind of like choosing, you know, light to hold within yourself, to hold around you, and that you're the one that kind of makes that decision and choice, and to really emphasize on keeping light and positivity in your life. I know for me that's been like a huge thing this year, like maintaining light and positivity, and so I just was like, oh, perfection. These next two are very interesting because they both have meaning to, well, these all have meaning to me, so it's not just have two, but I've never had necklaces that have symbolized these two things. So the first one, if you didn't know, Ana Luisa also has these necklaces that have numbers on them. So if you can't tell, that's the number 7. So my favorite number is 7. I've never had any jewelry that's had the number 7 on it. It's my favorite number, but it's also the number of completion. And so it means a whole lot to me, like a whole lot. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, it's my first time ever getting the number 7 on a necklace. And yeah, The next one is my first initial, which is A, for Ashley. If I told you the story behind my name, you'd be surprised because my name is so common. But my mom has known that she wanted to name me Ashley before she was even like 10 years old. And so there's this whole history and story behind my name, and I've never had a necklace with my initial on it, and so I thought that this was absolutely gorgeous. So if you're looking for a way to elevate your everyday look at affordable prices, ways that you can actually help the environment, they're testing for allergies, there's warranties, all of these amazing things, you can check out the link that's going to be down in my description box below, and you can also use my code Bookishrealm20 to get 20% off. Definitely this is the perfect time to get a little something for yourself, get something for the important person in your life for Mother's Day. It's absolutely perfect. Thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. All right, y'all, so let's get into the nitty gritty of this video. Like, what do I have going on? Why did I decide to go on a book buying ban? Why now? How? And what has my reading been like since then? Like, has my reading been impacted? And how do I manage to go into a store and not buy a book? I've got all these answers for you, I promise. I am also going to state at the beginning of this that I know that I have some privilege or advantage in not purchasing or buying books, meaning that I live in a place where books are extremely accessible right now, especially with book banning and book challenging going on. I have books that are extremely accessible to me. I have a library that is funded very, very well. I also still have connections with publishers where I am either offered books for promotional, you know, like showcasing something on Instagram for a tour or promotion or for review. And then also sometimes I get sent stuff unsolicited. So I am not technically buying anything. Like, none of my finances are going towards buying books at the moment, but I can say that books are still coming in, just not out of my pocket. So I just wanted to clarify that before beginning this video. Okay, so let's dive in. Why did I decide to go on a book buying ban? Well, if you live in the US, you probably have felt the impact of what the economy is like right now, with gas prices soaring through the roof, with food prices soaring through the roof. We saw eggs reach and just a wild price, the price of meat going up, just everything is getting more expensive. Even my childcare at this point was supposed to drop significantly because my daughter is about to be 4 years old this year. I am paying more than what I paid when she was an infant, and that's not supposed to it's not how it's supposed to work. If I could talk today, that's not how it's supposed to work at all. It's supposed to keep dropping, and I'm still paying over $200 a week for childcare services because of this economy and the prices of going up. When prices of materials that they need goes up, then my tuition payments go up. And so just taking into account what was going on in the background, we also went through some financial changes at my job, also recognizing that there's a possibility that we may hit a recession soon. I just knew that I could not afford to spend things on my own personal hobbies. And I know some people will be like, oh, that's not self-care, but it is self-care for me, mental health wise, knowing that I am in a financially stable place, especially for my child. My child is also getting older, so she's getting involved in extracurricular activities. We do gymnastics now once a week, and so that's a monthly payment. We are starting to, you know, get out more, especially with, you know, COVID restrictions limiting up and, you know, wanting to go out and do things and not be in the house with the weather getting warmer now. And all of those things factor in. And so my budget that I may have had where it was like, okay, I can afford to do like a little something here and there, has been going towards that stuff. Clothes, she is growing like a weed, y'all. Okay, my child is 3'7" and is 3 years old. So you can imagine buying clothes is just it's a task. And while I do often buy everything on sale or secondhand, my child can, it feels like 3-4 weeks most is what I get out of clothes. And so I feel like I'm constantly, even with thrifting and everything, I am constantly buying clothes. So there's that. However, like I said, taking all of that stuff into account, making sure that I was creating a financially stable environment for my child, making sure that I was taking care of everything in a financially responsible way, that meant that I had to forego some things that I am used to doing, which was whenever I wanted a book, I would purchase it. And now it's kind of like whenever I want a book, let's see if the library has it, or maybe I can't read it right now. So the way that it has changed my reading is that I read whatever's available. I have been definitely, of course, I've always been an avid library user, but now I've been even more dependent upon my library. I have been reading a little bit more off of my own shelves, this is the perfect time for me to be reading more off of my own shelves because I'm not investing money and adding more to my collection. I think that it has taught me a lot of patience, like a lot of patience, because I will say this, I've never been super into, I must read like this new release on release day. I keep track of new releases because of the fact that it's my job to kind of do that at this point. But if I don't get to a new release on the day that it's released, I have never really been bothered about that. But I'm even so more like, whatever, I'll get to it when I get to it. And that is a new level of patience. I think that if I want to read something that is a new release and I can't, get to it the way that I want to get to it, I have to wait. And so there have been times when I've put something on hold, especially like when it comes to Libby. We all have had these experiences with Libby where like a new book comes out and it's like weeks upon weeks. And so I literally have put stuff on hold, and there have been times when it's like, you've got 20 plus weeks to wait, baby. Like, you're not going to get this anytime soon. And I've grown to like be like, okay, well, I'm not going to get it. Let's find something else to read. It's pushed me to kind of read a little bit more outside of my comfort zone and read just whatever looks appealing to me. I'm at the library all day, every day. And so I literally just look around shelves and I'm like, oh, this looks good. I'll pick this up and try it and see what happens. I think that one place where I could pull back, because when I say book buying, I also mean like physical books adding to my collection. I still have Kindle Unlimited as well as Audible. So in that sense, those are monthly subscriptions that I have budgeted into, and I use them so much, I almost can justify keeping those within my budget. Those still work within my budget. I think that when it came to the book buying, it was like I couldn't just willy-nilly like, oh, I need the next couple books in a manga series, I want to get them. I couldn't do that. So like, for example, by the time this video goes up, I will have just completed 30 and 30, and I relied on my own collection in the library. I didn't buy anything. When we did the live show, I did talk a little bit about like I've been adding things to a cart, but I don't know when that stuff or if that stuff will ever get purchased, because I'm just not in the financial place to randomly just throw money at books at this moment. I think that eventually, depending upon how the economy looks in the next couple of months, it may get to a point where I have to let go of at least Audible. Kindle Unlimited, I feel like I just use so much that, and it works right now with my budget, that would be the last thing to go. But if it gets even more extreme, then, in terms of the economy and looking at my spending, Audible may also have to go. And that would be a hit for me. It would be a hit for me, but not in the way that I think it would be. I think just learning to adapt and adjust my reading expectations is what this whole entire process has taught me. And it has really made me go into like, there's been a couple moments like we've walked into a bookstore and, I don't buy anything. Like, we go there, we look around, we may go to the kids section, and we may read some stuff. I even have like a rule of thumb for my child now where it's like, if you can get it through my job, I'm not buying it for you. We can borrow it and return it, because we're going to read it, and then we can return it. And then if you want it again, we can check it back out. So I think for me, it's just become this thing where it almost feels like it's a self-control. And I feel like at one point in the past couple of years, my buying had gotten like out of control, because I was just buying stuff, and I have bought stuff that is still sitting on my shelves that I have not read. It was very much so like impulse buying, like, oh, I want it, so I'm just gonna, buy it. And then it's like, okay, but you do that and it's been sitting on your shelves for months on end and you haven't read it. And so I've kind of heavily relied, like, the impulse of wanting to go and buy a book. It has become like, oh, let's see if the library has it. And if my library doesn't have it, it's just kind of like, okay, well, moving on to the next thing. It was hard at first because I think it was such a huge habit. And it also made me recognize the huge privilege that I have. When I think about it in context too of like book banning and book challenging, the privilege that I had to be able to just go add something to a cart and purchase it, when I know that people are losing access completely to things, it really, really made me kind of hone in on the fact that I definitely have some privilege in being able to do this. And I knew that, and it wasn't something that I didn't recognize, but I think when you take a step out of your own experience and try to look at it from a different lens, you're like, oh shoot, no, like really, this is a place of privilege for me to be able to do this. Because I know people who haven't bought, like, who typically just don't buy books at all. They borrow, and that's about it. And there are people who haven't bought books in years. And I am totally and completely amazed and enthralled by that. And now I see how fulfilling it can be. And this is not a judgment for people who still buy books. Like, if you can afford to do it, that's you. That's your business. That's your money. That's your coins. And I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. I'm just telling you how I spend my money, because I can't afford to spend my money like that anymore. I just can't. And I think as an adult, and for me being an adult that has a minor, I have to be financially conscious and financially aware. There is no going into debt over books. There is no not paying this and not being on time for this and over books. Like, that's not a phase of my life. Maybe if I was in my early 20s, being financially irresponsible was a thing. But now being in my early 30s with a minor that I'm taking care of, there is no room for financial irresponsibility at all, because I have a roof to keep over her head, food in her mouth, a place to lay her head at night, clothes on her back, and, just things to, foster her growth and entertainment, etc. But it really, going back to this, made me kind of look at my own spending habits. And just looking back at just some, especially with me ordering from Amazon, just going back and looking at the money that was spent on stuff, and then like looking at my shelves, and I'm like, okay, I spent this money on this stuff right here. And this was like 6 to 8 months ago, and I still haven't even read this book. Financially just not thinking twice about the fact that, and I wouldn't say that like being financially irresponsible in that way, because it didn't impact whatever bills I had to pay, whatever else I was taking care of. It didn't impact that. But thinking about the fact that this money could have been put towards something else, instead of buying a book because, it's like, oh, I want that book, and then I don't even read it, when it's like, okay, well, are there other means for me to access this book? Like, can I get it from the library? Or can I be patient and just wait, until possibly it becomes available another way? I don't know. But I think that looking at those items that I have purchased, and then looking at my shelves and just kind of doing cross-reference, and I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, you cannot keep doing stuff like that. So there's that point. I think I've enjoyed it. It feels freeing in a lot of ways. It feels very, I don't know, it feels refreshing not to want to impulsively buy a book just because I hear about it or it's new or whatever the case may be, or keeping up with the Joneses, which I think can be a thing here in the community, which I'm not going to dive into today because we've had this circular conversation about consumerism on BookTube, and I'm not, this is not about that. This is just about me and what and how I've managed not to buy a book in over 5 months. This is because this is the first time that I've actively done this, and that I've made it kind of my rule of thumb, like, you don't need to purchase any books. It's not necessary for you to purchase books at this time. If you want to read something that's new, you can wait for it. If, you know, there's something that you're interested in, you can read this instead. If your library doesn't have it, then read what you have. Like, manga probably for me is the best example of this, where I have series that I have bought that my library doesn't have, and it is what it is right now. Like, I just can't finish those series right now. I just am not going to be able to continue on. I can request that my library purchase the titles, which for one of the series, I'm very close to being like, hey, can we get, do we have it in our budget to like get this stuff if possible? Just out of curiosity. But some of the stuff, like, I may not be able, we may not be able to get, and I may not be able to continue it until I get to a point where it is justifiable for me to spend that money. I don't know when that's going to happen. So I guess the final question of this is, like, how long do I anticipate this book banning or book buying ban to continue on? For right now, unless, like, I get a gift card to a bookstore, I don't know. It's going to continue until I feel like economy-wise, things are a little bit better. But right now, it's not looking great for us here in the US. So it may, I don't know. And this is not like a challenge to see how long I can go, but I just know financially right now, like, it just is not justifiable. It just doesn't make sense. It literally does not, 2 + 2 does not equal 4 in this situation for me to continue buying books. So I will say, at the minimum, probably for the rest of this year, I do not anticipate buying any books for the rest of this year. Will it be different next year? We'll have to wait and see what I'm looking at financially, whether there's some adjustments for me financially. But even then, I probably could get to a point where I'm like, I'm so used to simply just reading what I have or reading what's available to me at the library, that I may not even have the urge, because at this point I don't even have the urge to buy any books at all. I literally just don't have the urge. And like I said, I have thrown stuff into a cart for future reference, but your girl's not buy, like, I'm not pressing buy on the cart. That's just things that I'm thinking of, especially with series that I know for a fact, and it's manga and graphic novels, which is strange. It's not any books. It is literally manga and graphic novels, where I'm like, okay, because that's a lot of what I was buying as well. And it's the most expensive thing to buy, which is why I'm looking like, dang, girl, like, it's a lot of money to build a graphic novel and manga collection. And so I'm looking at a stack right now where it's a couple of titles that I'm like, I really want to continue on because I only bought volume 1 of the series, and I know for a fact that my library doesn't have the series. And so I'm kind of in this position where I'm like, okay, well, unfortunately, this is where we're at. I will add them to a cart for a future note, but I can't afford to buy them right now. So that's it, y'all. Like, I haven't purchased a book in over 5 months, and I probably will not going into the rest of this year. I can, if you're interested, I can do an update to let you know at the end of the year whether I maintained it, whether I go an entire, year and some change without purchasing a book. I can let you know if that's the thing that does happen. So let me know if you would like to see that in the comment box down below. But yeah, let me know, like, do you have any like thoughts about, not buying any books? Does it impact you whenever you have like subscription stuff like Audible or Kindle Unlimited? Like, how do you work around things like that? I looked at those so separately because those were already integrated into literally my monthly budget. Like, all that stuff was already integrated into my monthly budget. So let me know how y'all feel about stuff like that also in the comments down below. Do not forget that Ana Luisa is having that Mother's Day sale, and I've left the link down in my description box below to their website, as well as the 20% off that you can get by using my code Bookishrealm20. So please do not forget about that. It's a great sale, a lot of wonderful pieces. The one that I have on my neck here. As always, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content, click subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. If you're looking for ways to support this channel via Patreon or follow me on social media, all those links will be down in the description box as well. And I'll be back with another video soon. Bye!